Today I will be attempting to change the valve stem seals, and I'm going through it step by step on this DRZ400S 2006. It's got 16,000 kilometers, so it doesn't have many kilometers on it. It's a fairly fresh engine. It smokes when I start it up, so that's why I thought it's the valve stem seals and not the piston rings. I did a compression test, and I know it's not optimal, but that's the way, that's the tools I have to work with, and the rings seem fine. So to get to it, there's a lot of things you need to remove, and I haven't seen a video on YouTube yet that specifies this fix. I've seen people take down the whole engine and stuff, but they don't like go into depths with how to fix the valve stem seals. So I thought I'd make a video of it while I'm at it. I've never done it before, but from what I've read on like Thumper Talk and seen some other videos on YouTube and stuff, it should be fairly easy. It's just very time consuming. You have to remove a lot of stuff. I'm gonna start the video from this spot. So I've already removed the valve cover, and I've already removed the 4 bolts that hold the camshafts on. And if you want to do that, I'm not gonna go through it because there's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to do it. So I've covered it up with some towels just to don't get any debris or something in it. What we have to do is remove these 2. There's also 4 bolts inside. I'm gonna go through everything, so I'm just going like an overview now. And we're gonna remove the carburetor, the exhaust, all the way from the front to the back. Well, you don't need to remove the back, but I'm gonna change the spring anyway. I got a new one from Moose Racing over there to fit my weight, so I'm gonna change that eventually. So might as well just remove it. Of course, the seat, the tank, and you might just, while you're at it, just take away the plastics too. It's gonna be much easier. You're gonna remove the engine mount or frame mount, whatever you wanna call it. English is not my native language, so you'll probably hear me say some wrong stuff, but I'll try to correct it with the text in the video afterwards. You have to drain the coolant. So yeah, let's get to it. We'll start with the carburetor. So to remove the carburetor, it's pretty straightforward. You just need to remove the 3 clamps. You got one over here, and it's a Phillips screw or GIS screw, whatever you want to call it, but you have to remove this, and then this one. And I'll speed up the video for the unnecessary parts, and yeah, I'll slow it down when I have something important to tell. So what I like to do is remove the screw completely, and then put it away so I don't drop it somewhere. And then I like to bend the upper part of the clamp and just pull it out carefully, not to destroy the rubber boot, and voila, you got it. And then you'll just put the screw back, and remember where it goes, of course. I like to organize my stuff, so as you can see, I got a whole plastic box of stuff that came off the bike, and I like to see for the valve cover. Keep yourself organized. It's gonna be much easier when you're gonna put it together. Now that the throttle cables are off, you gotta pull this sensor off. Some people got 2, I did until I did the mod, so be careful. They're placed right here. I think we can find the other one. Yeah, it's tucked in back here. I taped it off. So the easiest way I found to remove the carburetor is to take this boot that comes from the air filter or the air box. Take the boot and pry it until you can rest it on the frame, okay? So we're gonna try that. So you grab it like this, and just push until it rests on the frame. And be careful not to rip it. Now you slide the carburetor back and pull the front out. And there we go. Now the only hose I need to disconnect is this one. It's the hose that goes to the bottom of the bowl that empties the carb. So here we have it. I've done a lot of mods on it. Maybe I'll do that for another video. If you wanna see that or what I did, or just post it down in the comments, let me know. Maybe I'll do a video about it. All right, so we're gonna drain the coolant. This is the bleed screw you're gonna drain it from. Leave the cap on and leave it tight. It's 8mm. So when you crack it up, it's gonna squirt some. I just changed this coolant last year, so this shouldn't be dirty. Yeah. So we got the screw out, okay? Put it aside. Now for the fun part. When you uncap this, this will shoot out, okay? So you gotta catch it, but it's not really efficient to catch it with this one. So I'm gonna make a hole in this one. So just take a gallon and cut a hole out. Now this is the tricky part. You gotta hold it like this, so the coolant comes in here and drops out of here, right into the container, okay? So, okay, let's see if we can do this. And there you have it. No spilling. Okay guys, so I've removed the radiator guards, just 2 bolts down here, and I think I can get away with just loosening them up and removing this clamp so I can tilt it upwards. That way I can reach this hose and the exhaust, the header. Let's give it a try. So this is a trick I use sometimes when I'm like unsure how long the project is gonna take and maybe I forget what hose goes where, so I just mark them. 1, 1. That way I know this hose goes there, and 2, 2. This hose goes there. So now when I remove them, I know exactly where they go. What you need is an Allen key. What you do is put it in and you pry on it. So now we have to break the other one, and I think it's easier to go from the other side. See, it's right in there. Go. You see the up right here, it's facing like this when you insert it like this, so it's pointing up. Remember that one. And the cam chain tensioner looks really good. Actually, sometimes the automatic ones fail, so you wanna buy a manual one, but I believe that it's from 2004 up on these DRZs. They fixed it. It's what I've read anyway. Now you have the chain all loose. It's time to remove the cams, and you wanna tie this chain up, all right? Because when you remove it and you drop it, it's gonna fall down, and you don't wanna fish it up from there. It's gonna take hours. If it's even possible. So let's put some zip ties on it. Okay, so now that you have the chain tight, you want to remove the cams. Do this by simply lifting carefully, very carefully. You don't want to ruin any teeth. All right, and remember, one at a time. Keep it tight. Okay, and this was for the intake. Put you right there. So what you want to do is inspect the cam, okay? You don't want to see any wear, like on the lobes or whatever they're called, like these. Light scratching or whatever is fine, but if you see any grooves, like you can fit your nail in them, nope, big no-no. So you gotta change them, and in that case I would recommend upgrading to stage 1 or stage 2. But these look actually new. This one is removed. Let's remove the front one, and remember, every time you remove a cam, the chain will slacken, okay? So keep it tight. I cannot stress this enough. Keep it tight. You don't want to fish for it. Both cams are out. I used some steel wire and some zip tie. The exhaust is in the front, intake is in the back. And the exhaust side has a decompression mechanism, okay? And it's right here. You want to tap it just lightly. See if it springs back. If it does, then it's working. And this one is working just fine. Actually, my cams looks really good. So let's take a look at the intake. Right there says intake. Okay, and looks good too. Looks good too. I haven't been damaged from heating or anything, so this is perfect. So now we're on the left side of the bike, and we still have some stuff to do. We're gonna remove the header, we're gonna remove the engine mount, okay? But as you can see here, you got your buckets. Underneath these is where the valve springs and the valves and the shims are. And what you wanna take a look at here is the wear over here, where the cams rest. If you see any deep grooves, yeah, then your top end needs to be rebuilt or something, and mine looks good actually. No biggie here. So I have a aftermarket exhaust. It's not a real Akrapovic, but it works. It sounds good. So it's gonna pretty much look like this on your bike. Some bolts are gonna be different, I think, but you remove the heat shield by loosening these two. And then you have a bolt right here that holds the midsection of the pipe. And then you have this one on the bracket up here. You have to remove it. And then you remove this bolt down here that connects the header to the mid pipe. And then you slide this part, you slide it backwards, you slide the front part forwards. And that should free up the exhaust system. Let's get to it. Removed the header, and you can see all the carbon or exhaust buildup, whatever it is in there. That's gonna be cleaned. Now we have removed the header, we're gonna remove the engine mounts. So you got two bolts up here, one down here, and you need to hold them from one side and wrench on the other. And cover up this with a towel or something. You don't wanna drop one of these down there. Okay guys, the time has come to remove the 12mm bolts inside the head, and these can be on there pretty well. You want to remove these in a crisscross pattern so you don't warp them. We finally got them to budge. So took like really all the force I had to get them out, but we finally did it. Well, they're not out technically yet. Needs a little more. So we're gonna remove these 10mm first. That connects this part of the cylinder with this part. Checking if they are, yeah, they're the same length. That's good. Aha. They do have a washer on, so you want to get that washer too. I'm gonna get a magnet We need to fish out that washer so it doesn't drop anywhere I don't want it. And we got it. See? There's the washer. You want to check the threads. I'm not sure these are supposed to be torqued down that much, but could be like from never been removed too. So they just sit on there pretty well. Finally removed everything. We got the bolts out, the washers that are underneath them, and now this part is free. Just need to give it a whack, I think, to free it up. And then we're good to go. Now to remove it, it's kind of a special procedure. The chain goes through it, right? So you need to pull up and at the same time grab the chain in between these parts so it doesn't drop down. And then remove this one with one hand while holding the chain with the other hand. We did it! It's still here. This is the chain guides. Here's the gasket. And here's the piston. I'm on the left side of the bike now, checking the piston. I just wiped it off with a paper towel. And it looks good. We got some carbon deposits on here, but according to what I've seen and talked to some friends, there are bikes that have had much worse and they run fine. I'm not seeing any dings or any grooves or something from the valves, so this piston is good to go. What you want to do now is cover all of this up, okay? I need to order up stuff, the gaskets, the seals, etc. Some tricks before we start. Keep yourself organized, you see? So I got the spray cans here, we got the brushes, we got the plastic tools, we got a flashlight. I suggest you do something like this, see? I've drawn a copy of the cylinder head. So 1, 2 is for the exhaust, 3, 4 is for the intake. And then I come here to my sorting box. I don't know if you can see that, but you see 1, 3, and on the other side it's 2 and 4. So all the parts that come from the valve number 1 will be placed in 1, and 2, 3, 4, yeah, you get the point. So maybe this is just me over exaggerating, but yeah, or satisfy my OCD. But it works, okay? It works. Keep yourself organized. The only special tool you're gonna need is this one. I bought it off of Amazon. What, 25 euros? Approximately $25. You're gonna need this to remove the springs and get to the valve stem seals. And this is the only kit you're gonna need to be able to do this job. So why not pay the extra money to do something properly? We will start by removing this gasket. I know some people reuse them, but no. You want to grab a magnet, put it on the bucket, and there's a shim inside there, okay? It will stick to the magnet from inside the bucket. So don't remove the magnet until you see the shim right there. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. There we go. There's the shim. Keep the shim in the bucket so you know which one goes where. And we put that in number 1. Number 2, out. That's shim. Number 3. Bucket number 4. See the numbers? 282. Some numbers are scratched off, but yeah. So the numbers are gonna be facing down. We're gonna give the valves or valve heads, whatever you want to call them, a quick wipe so we don't slip with the tool. So the tool doesn't need a lot of explanation, but you take the little hole, you see there's a big and a little, you take the little hole and you put the tabs facing the inside of the tool, click it on, you take the 23 millimeter, click it on the other side. The 25 goes for the valve heads and the 23 goes up here. And I don't like the idea of putting metal straight into this. So I cut out a little piece from a plastic mat from an old car. So I'll place this here, and then I'll take this one and put it straight against. Now you take this rod that is included in the kit and you place it in the center. You don't want to ruin the lobes, and you keep twisting. And so you push the spring back. All right, you can reach the place. So now I got it fairly tight just to give you a clearer view. See? Put this one straight on the head. I'm not touching the edges. You don't want to touch them. And this one is holding the valve head. And now we just twist until we see the clips freed up, and then we'll pull them out with a magnet. We got one of them out. This is for number 1, so we'll put that in the shim bucket. So you got 2 springs. You got one up here. You got this one that goes in it. Now you can simply push the valve out. You can see we have a lot of carbon buildup. This we will clean. You want to check that the valve is not bent either. We will use the drill for that. Meanwhile, let's put the valve back here. Now you take some needle nose pliers and you take that one out. And some people say, no, you need a special tool for it, but if you're replacing them, it's no problem. Look how brittle they are. Just rips right off. Okay, finally got the parts. The valve cover gasket. So we actually ordered up 4 new Wiseco steel valves. They're coated and single piece forged, because when I finally cleaned up the valves, you can see the coating, it's all gone on the sides, and you have this lip which makes it not seal well enough on the head. So we actually sent out the head to a machine shop and cut the seats. I did not want to do that. I've read about it. It's pretty expensive, but we did it to ensure that everything will work fine. We also bought, well, this came with the kit. This is the new valve seals. This is the gasket for the water, the thermostat goes in here. We also got this in the kit. It's the gasket for the header, for the exhaust right here. And this is the old one. I'm not sure if it was leaking or not, but this is the thing that I'm not gonna cheap out on. So you might as well just install a new one. Just make sure it's the same size, you put them over each other, and yeah, they look good. This is where I made the pair valve modification. This is the piece that goes there. There's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to make the pair valve delete. And this is the block off bracket that I made. So you just put some silicone, red high temperature silicone, and you put it on. I'm gonna install that too. Okay, so with the new valves here, we need to install everything in a reverse order. Some brake clean and compressed air. And you can see it's pretty much spotless. You need to reach inside the holes and everything, because if you leave some of that grime from, for example, the head cutting, you're gonna have like a fine grid of sandpaper running around in your engine, and it will wear down the components a lot. So I got everything here, and we will put them back, and I'll explain step by step how to do it. So this is the spring seat. It will, the big spring, the outer one, will be on the outer groove, and the inner one will be on the inner groove. Give those some brake clean. And after that, I've already prepared a container with some 10W40 oil. Some people use engine lube, but since there's already oil in the engine, like naturally. Why not just use that? And pump it in. Make sure it's seated, and do that for all. So we got the spring seat seated, and when you initially start the bike up, you will have some smoking because this will act, you know, like a burn off. And after that, you should be good. But just lube it up for now, so it doesn't run dry on the initial startup. And then we have the seals. You want to lube this up too. Put a magnet. Lube it up real good. And then you want to push it on. So you take an Allen key, you put it on like this, you line it up with the hole, you drop it in. When it's lined up, you should be able to push it, and you should have like a click. It's not like distinct, but you can feel it with your finger. Lube it up. Go. By the way, I've not found any information on how the orientation of these are. So it all depends. Some come with a spring on the bottom, some come with only a spring on the top. These ones come with a metal spring on the top and like some kind of O-rings on the bottom. And in this case, this hole is tighter than this hole, right? The diameter is different. So you want the small diameter facing upwards in this case. There we go. They're all installed. Make sure to check that they're seated, okay? You don't want to force, like, break the rubber or anything, but just feel them with your finger. Kind of feel if they're wobbly or something. They should be on there pretty solid. So now we got the valves. And as you can see here, we made a diagram. I also added some stuff. I measured the shims because you never know. They wear off like hundreds or thousands even. So you want to measure them with a digital caliper. And this is the measurements I got. 3.12 millimeters on number 1, 3.10 on number 2, 2.77 on number 3, 2.81 on number 4. And from what I've read on forums and stuff, these should be the original shims. So I know for a fact that nobody has changed them. They do differ. Not everything comes like exactly the same. All bikes have different shims from the factory, okay? But they do usually come around this area of measurement. So if you have like 2.7, 2.8 on the intakes, that's usually factory spec. 3.10 on the exhaust, up to 3.15 on the exhaust means you have the factory specs. I've only heard good stuff about the Wiseco, so that's why I'm running them. When you send these out, like when you send the head out, they will cut the seats according to the valves. So you need to bring the valves with you. So when you push the valve in, you want to keep your finger, I mean it's not necessary but I do it, you want to keep your finger on the valve stem seal, okay? So you don't accidentally pop off or ruin it or something, just wiggle it through and the oil will help you a lot. And we take out, whoops. spring number 1. So we're gonna compress back the springs now, just like we did when we took him out. If you're wondering what the sound in the background is, it's my wife playing Assassin's Creed. Those games are awesome. You got it placed on. What you want to do is compress the spring. And you're gonna put these keepers back in, okay? Okay, so I found that the easiest way to do this is to place the keepers on top when you've not compressed the spring fully yet. And then you compress it, they fall in place, and then you release. And it should look something like this. I don't know if you can see it. See the keepers? One on that side, one on this side. They're holding that little groove in the valve. So, yeah, that is correctly done. Now, I've shown you one exhaust, and I'll show you one intake. So we got all the valves on. Apparently these are stainless steel Wiseco valves. So now you install the old buckets with the old shims. So this is number 1. Yeah, this is number 1. Most people recommend to put some oil on the shim, just like that. Careful when you put it back, so you don't drop it anywhere. There we go. Give it a light coating and drop it over. And then we have number 2. So we put the old shim and the old bucket back, so we can measure the difference now that we cut the head. So we measure the difference on how much material we've lost and compensate that with another size shim. So not only do we have to shim for the original engine specs, we have to shim for the cut on the head too. These are the old numbers: 18, 21, 14, 07. We'll put these back, see what numbers we get. Okay, so first of all, you gotta give this a good coating. Okay, so what you can do is put the cams as they would be in top dead center, like aligned. So you have the 2 up, you have the 1 to the right. You have the 3 to the left. This is on the exhaust side. And on the intake side, you have the 3 pointing up. You have the 2 pointing to the side. And you place this line and this line, see, parallel with the surface of the head. Just like that. That should give you this orientation. 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. The lobes right here, okay? So this is why I usually stay organized, okay? You see I got every bolt for every place where it should be. Thank you. So I finished up the head, cleaned up the surface here. Gonna put on a new gasket. The kit came with a gasket for this part too, but I'm not gonna change that one. Here's the new gasket we're placing on. So just make sure to clean the surfaces. Doesn't need to be like spotless, because some spots you can't get rid of, but as long as the surface is smooth, like you can't get stuck with your nail and stuff like that. There we go. Gasket in place. And now kind of for the hard part. So I need to fish the chain through the head first. This is gonna be semi-challenging. Okay, the head is finally on. Trust me, it was not as easy as they make it look in other videos. It was a hell. I had to remove the water pump to make it fit, or else it would kink somewhere. But yeah, finally got it on. Now for the head bolts. The head is on and we're putting in the head bolts. According to the manual, they need to be oiled. So you put oil on the washer and also on the threads, which actually surprised me because usually you don't put oil on the threads because it messes with the torque value. But maybe this torque value is calibrated with the oil. All right, so I got this digital torque wrench. It's Newton meters, calculated 25. It's the initial one, okay? And you want to go in a crisscross pattern. So this is going to be number 1. I don't know if you can see. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Okay. This one is 25 now. The cam caps are back. It's all oiled up under there. These are, I couldn't really torque them down because I couldn't fit with my torque wrench, but I did them by hand. This is the cam chain tensioner. To reset it, you remove all the bolts, of course. You press in this tab here and you push this down. And there we go, it's reset. Okay, and this is up. Does it matter? No. Guys, we did it. Just make sure to check for leaks. Well, she seems to be running just fine. But I haven't test ridden it yet. Gonna go for a ride this weekend, and I'll update you if it feels better, worse, if I feel any difference, if it's snappier. I'll also do a compression test to see if the compression increased. This is the next project. I'm gonna post a video about that too. I'm gonna do some road tripping this summer. I'm gonna post some videos about it too. Me and my friends are going on some trips. If you enjoyed it, hit the like, hit the subscribe, comment down below. And just in case you can't hear me, or if you forget,